today's lecture, we will understand how conditional branching statement will work in C programming. First of all, we need to know about the conditional branching statement and what is the requirement of these conditional branching statements. In general, C program executes in a sequence. All the statements in a C program will execute in a sequence. But sometimes we require to alter that flow of sequence of the statements. So if this is the requirement, it is possible through the conditional statements, or we can say branching statements, that is offered by the C language. They are also known as control statement. Okay. So what can be done with the conditional branching statement? A programmer can jump from one part of the program to another part with the help of such statements. There are some conditional branching statements which are allowed in C programming. If statement, we can work with the if statement for the conditional branching. Another one is the if else, then nested if else, then ladder of if else, and then the switch statements. So we'll study one by one these all the control statements. Now we'll work with the simply if syntax or simply if statement. Now we need to understand how it will work. Basically, if statement evaluates a text expression which is given inside the parenthesis. Right. So what is the syntax for simply if and how it works? The syntax for simply if, we need to write this if keyword, and then in the small bracket we need to write the condition, or we can say expression. If this expression written inside the parenthesis is true, the statement inside the body of if statement are executed. So what is the body of the if statement? Between this curly braces. So if this expression is true, then only these code written inside this statement will be executed. And what will happen if the text expression is evaluated false? Then these statement will not be executed. Compiler's control will come just outside the code, right? So if expression's result is true, then only the statement associated with this if will be calculated or executed, otherwise it will not be executed, right? Now we can see how it works. What is the example of it, right? This is the flow diagram of if statement. Here we can see this diamond box shows the condition. If we make a flow chart, we can use diamond box for showing the condition. So if we want to write the condition, we'll have this diamond box, and the result of this condition will be true or false only. So if it is true, the code inside the body will be executed, and if it is false, the condition is false, the code after the statement will be executed. This code will be skipped in that time and will be executed. So if we take the example of if statement, so we are considering here a very little example in which we are having two variables, both are of integer type. In x we are having 20, in y we are having 22, and we are checking the condition using the simply if. So here we can see the simply, we have written the simply if. Inside the bracket we are checking the condition if x is less than y. If it is so, if it is true, as we can see from the example, it is true. So it is true. So this printf statement will work. It means what? What will be printed? Variable x is less than y. We get this result, right? What will be happen if this y will be lesser than this x? Let's suppose another condition. Then this printf statement will not work in that condition, right? The next statement is if else statement. So in which condition this if-else statement will work? This if-else statement will work if we want to execute a code for true condition, and if sometimes we get the false condition, then also we are having some set of statement to execute, right? Okay, so here we can first understand what is the syntax of the if-else statement. Here we can see the syntax. For the syntax, what we will write? We will write this if, and then in the bracket, small bracket, we will write the expression which will give the Boolean result, true or false. If the statement inside this bracket or expression inside this bracket is true, then only the associated statement written inside this curly braces will be executed. If this condition is false, then what will happen? Compiler's control will come at the else part, and the statement associated with this else part will be executed. The statements written inside this curly braces will be executed when this condition is false. So what is exactly we are doing here? We are writing this if and else statement, and with the if, we are writing an expression. If this expression is true, then only the statement written here inside these curly braces will be executed. If this condition is false, then what will happen? Compiler's control will come here at the else part, and the statement written inside these curly braces will be executed. Now, focus on this flow diagram. Okay, so what we are representing here? We are representing the condition. When we make a flow chart, all the conditions are presented in a diamond box. So here we are presenting the condition in the diamond box, right? And if this, then what will be the outcome of this condition? It will be true or it may be false. So if it is true, then the code will be executed, which is associated with the if statement. If this condition is false, then the code will be executed, which is associated with the else statement. That one, right? So this is how the syntax works. Now more about if-else statement, how it works, and an example of it. So if the else expression is evaluated true, so what will happen? The statement inside the body of if are executed, and the statement inside the body of else are skipped from the execution. If the text expression evaluated is false, then what will happen? Statement inside the body of else are executed, and the statement inside the body of if are skipped from the execution. So only one part of the statement will be executed, depend on the condition, right? Here we can see if we are taking a variable test with the value of 5, and we are checking if test is less than 10. So what is this condition? This condition is true. So what will happen? Compiler's control will come here at the body of this if statement. If there are some statements, it will be executed, right? Next, we are taking a condition. Again, test is a variable, integer type variable, and it is containing 5. So what is happening here? We are checking if test is greater than 10. No, it is not true here. It is false. So what is happening? Compiler's control will come here. After checking the condition, compiler's control will come here at the else part, right? And the body of the else will be executed. If the statements are written here, that will be executed, right? And after finishing these statements, compiler's control will come here, and next statement, whatever statements are written here, will be executed. Okay. So this is the example of the if-else. So here in this program, we are taking integer number, that is a variable named number. We are taking the number from the user. So user will give some value. Then we are writing if, and then in the bracket we are writing the condition. Because this program is to check whether the entered number is odd or even. So what is the logic behind it? We need to take the number, modulus operator, then 2 to check the number is odd or even, right? So if this number is divided by 2 and then we are getting the remainder 0, then only we can say that the number is even, right? So here, that is the logic we have written here inside the bracket. So this expression will return 0 only if the number is even. Let's suppose we are having 4 in number variable. So if we are taking modulus with 2, so what is the remainder? We'll get the remainder 0 that time. So this condition comes true. This condition comes true when the number is 4. So what will be printed? Entered number is even. What will happen if this number is equal to 5? Right. So when we will take 5 modulus 2, what it will give? It will give us 1. That is not equal to 0. It means this condition become false with the number is equal to 5, right? So compiler's control will come here in the else part, and what will be printed? Entered number is odd. As you can see, this 5 is odd number, right? So that is how this if-else statement works. Okay. Now nested if statement. We have in the previous slide, we have considered the example for if-else, and now we are doing the nesting of if-else statement if required. If our logic is there in which we require some nesting of the statement, we can have the nesting also for the if statement, right? What do you mean by nesting? When if statement or if-else statement is present inside the body of another if or else statement, it is called the nested if-else. Means what? Here we can see this is the if and the condition, and inside this if's body we are having again one another if and else statement. So this is how one level of nesting of if-else statement. That nesting can appear here also in case of else. We can write here also. We can write here one if and else statement, right? So that can be done. Nesting can be done up to several levels. Here we have taken the nesting of one level. Now the example of nested if-else, how it works, how this nesting will work. Let's suppose I want to find out, I have given 3 numbers and I want to find out which one is greater or which one is greatest among all 3's, right? So this is the program to find out the greatest among 3 numbers. So here we have taken 3 numbers, N1, N2, and 3. And we have entered these 3 numbers. We have taken values from the user, right? Now, this is the turn to apply the logic. Now, what will be the logic for 3 numbers to check which one is the greatest among all? Okay. So, we'll check first 2 numbers. So, first 2 numbers will take N1 and N2. And then we'll check if N1 is greater than equal to N2, right? It may be possible sometimes that number are equal. Okay. So, if we want to check N1 is greater than N3, what we will do? We will write if in the bracket, we will write N1 is greater than equal to N2. So, what can be the result of this statement? Sometimes it may true, sometimes it may false. So let's suppose this time it is true. Then what will happen? Compiler's control will come inside this if body. Fine. It means it is clear that N1 is greater than or equal to N2. Then only condition will be true, right? Now, inside the if body, because we have checked between N1 and N2. Now, N3 is left behind. We need to check N3 also with N1, because this time it is clear that N1 is greater than or equal to N2. So, we'll leave N2 and we'll work with N1. We'll work with the N1 and we'll check that N1 is greater than or equal to N3 also. So, for checking that, we need to apply this if statement again. And for that, we will write this expression. N1 is greater than equal to N3. And if this condition is true, then only we can have the printf statement that N1 is the greatest number, right? Then only we can write this printf statement, fine? So, if this condition is true, then compiler's control will come here. So, we'll write here the %.2lf is the largest number. It shows it is a format specifier for this double number, floating point number N1, right? So, if this condition is false, I am talking about the internal condition here. If it is true, then this printf will work. If this is false, then else part will be executed and the statement returned inside this else will be executed. Here, point to be noted, we have associated only single statement with with this if and with this else both, right? So, when single statement is associated with else or if, then we need not to apply these curly braces. We can write without curly braces also. But if we are having multiple statements, multiple line of code associated with else or if, then we need to write these curly braces compulsorily. So, here we are having only one statement. So, we are not writing any curly braces here. Okay. So, if this condition is true, the printf associated with if will be executed. If this condition is false, then printf associated with else will be executed. It means what? The largest number is N3. Fine. We came inside this curly braces or this block when that condition was true. Now, what will happen if this condition is false? If this condition is false, we'll come here in the else part, outer else part. This is the outer else part. This is the else part for this if statement. You can watch the indentation also. This if is aligned with this else. This if is aligned with this else. So, although in C programming no indentation is required, but here we have given the indentation to visualize properly which if is associated with which else, right? So, this is aligned with this else. So, this is the outer else part for this if. Okay. So, if this condition is false, we'll come here in the else part. And in else part, we are having again if and else statement, because in the outer if part, we have checked N1 is greater than equal to N2. When this condition will be false? When N2 is greater or equal to N1, right? N2 is greater of N1, then we'll come here. So, it is clear for me that N2 is greater than N1. So, now we need to check N2 is greater than or less than with N3. So, we'll write the condition if again. We have no option. We need to write the condition with N2 and N3. So, we are writing N2 is greater than equal to N3. If this condition is true, then we are very clear that N2 is the largest number among N1, N2 and 3, right? So we can have this printf statement. If this condition is true, then this printf statement will work. If this condition is false, will come from the else part and this printf statement will work. It clearly says that the n3 is the largest number. Fine? Because we are having 3 variables and we need to calculate which one is the largest number. So we need to check between 2 numbers and then again inside the if and else both we need to have check between another 2 numbers, right? So this way this nested if else statement will work. Now the next statement is the ladder of if else statement. How this ladder of if statement will work? Why we require it? So the if else statement executes the code depending upon whether the test condition is true or false. Sometimes a choice has to be made from more than 2 possibilities. That time that if else ladder will be useful. So the if else ladder allows you to check between multiple text expressions and execute different statements. How it works? We will write if then expression. If the expression is true, statement written inside these curly braces will be executed. And then if the statement is not true, it means it is false, then will come in the else part. With the else part, it is not only else, it is basically else if. So in the else part, if is associated. So again we'll check else if, we'll check the second condition, second expression. If it is true, then statement is associated with this if will be executed. If it is false, then come here in the else if part and next condition will be checked. If it is true, the statements will be executed. Otherwise will come here in the else part and the statement executed with this if else will be executed. Now to better understand, we'll have this example. This is a C program to print grade of a student using if else ladder statement. So in this program, what we are doing, basically we are entering the marks between 0 to 100. Fine. And if a student getting 90 and more than 90% marks, 90 equal to 90 and or more than 90% marks, then we can say that he is getting A grade. Fine. And if a student is getting more than 70% marks, then we can say that the student is getting grade B. If a student is getting marks between 50 and 69, then we can say that he got C grade. Or if marks are less than 50, then we can say that the student is fail. So we are allocating grades to the student according or based on their marks, right? So here a student is entering marks between 0 to 100. Okay. So with the scanf statement, we can get the marks between 0 to 100. So student is entering some marks. We'll check, and marks is a variable, integer type variable. Let's suppose student entered 92. So we'll come here and we'll check marks. If we are having 92 in this, then it is clearly greater than 90%. So what we can see, this printf will work and we can write to the student, your grade is A. Let's suppose the student is entering 84 in marks here. So what will happen? If compiler's control come here, we'll start with here. If we are having marks, once we are having marks, compiler's control will come here and then we'll check if marks is greater than equal to 90, but student entered 84. So this condition is what? False. This time this printf statement will not work, and compiler's control will come here in the else part, and in else part again if statement will be executed. What is this condition? We are writing the condition because we need to find out B grade marks. So for B grade we have decided 89 to 70% marks. If a student is having, then he will be allocated B grade, right? Okay. So if we are our student is entering 84 marks, so we'll check marks greater than 70. Yes, greater than equal to 70, but marks are greater than 70 if we are entering this 84, and the marks are less than 90. Yes. So this condition is true. Basically we are merging two conditions and both are true. So what will happen? This printf statement will work. This printf statement will work. Okay. So what will be printed to student? Your grade colon B. So student will be shown B grade. Fine. Let's suppose student entering this 67. Okay. So what will happen? Compiler's control will come here after getting marks. Then marks will be checked with this condition. Condition is false if this is the mark statement. So condition is false. So this printf will not work. And then compiler's control will come here in the else part. Again, the next condition will be checked. Next condition is marks greater than equal to 70 and logical and marks less than 90. So if both condition will be true, then only we will say that condition is true. So both conditions are false. So this printf statement will not work this time, right? So compiler's control will come here in the else part, and in the else part again if a statement is there and with this condition. So check this condition, and according to this condition marks are greater than equal to 50, yes, and marks are less than 70, yes. So both conditions are true. So we can clearly say that the student's grade is C. So this printf statement will work this time, and what will be shown to the student? Your grade colon C, right? Let's suppose if this condition is also false, then compiler's control will come here in the else part, and then this printf statement will work. Less than 50% marks, we are saying the student is first, right? So how this if else ladder will work? The next control statement is the switch statement. The switch statement allows us to execute one code block among many alternatives. If we are having many alternatives, better to use this switch case statement. We can do the same thing with the if else ladder also. However, the syntax of switch statement is much easier to read and it is much easier to write also. Right. So how the syntax will work and what is the syntax? Basically, we need to write the switch keyword. In the bracket, we need to write the expression which will give the result in some constant. Unlike the previous expression where we were getting result in terms of Boolean, true or false. But here in the case of switch, this expression will result some constant value. That value will be integer or character. Floating point number not allowed here as the result of the expression, right? So when we write this switch in small bracket, we will write the expression, fine, which will give the result in integer or character, right? Here we'll write the cases. If we are having 4 alternatives, we'll write 4 cases. If we are having 3 alternatives, we will write 3 cases as per the logic, as per the requirement, right? So if when we will write the case is a keyword here and the constant and then colon, and this is all the premises of case 1 and this is all the premises of case 2, right? And after every case, what we require this break statement. After every case, we will require this break statement. Why we require this break statement? Because when this expression's result is match with the first case, let's suppose, then all the cases will be executed if we are not putting this break. What this break statement will do? Break statement will make compiler's control outside the loop. Okay. And last, we'll see this default case. If we entered or user entered wrong choice, then this default case will work. This is totally optional case. We want to use it, we can use it, otherwise we can leave it. So this is totally optional, but it is recommended to write this default case here, because somehow if user entered a wrong choice, then the default case will work. Okay, so let's have more deep in this switch case, how it will work. So what is here in the switch case statement? The expression is evaluated once only and compared the value of each case level. Here we can see this is the level. Like if we are having 4 alternatives, so we can write case 1, case 2, case 3, case 4, like this. If we are having 3 alternatives, we will write these case 3. Okay, so this is the switch case statement notes, in which we are writing that the expression is evaluated once and compared with the value of each case level. If it is matches, the corresponding statement after the matching level are executed, right? If it is not matches, then the defaults, then the next statement, next case level will be checked for match. If it is so, otherwise next case level will be checked for the match. If any case is not matched, then the default statements are executed if we are given the default statement. We need to use this break statement. If we do not use this break statement, then after matching the level, all the statement will be executed. So all the statement after matching the level are executed. So this break statement is required basically. And this default statement in switch case is optional, as we already discussed. This is the flow chart. Here we will write the single expression and then we'll check. So again we are using this diamond box, and then we'll check this case, this expression's result is equal to the first case, then code block 1 will be executed. If no, then it will check with the statement case 2, and then code block 2 will be executed. If no, it means no match found, then again the next case will be checked for the match. If match found, then block 3 will be executed. If no match found, then default case will be executed. Right. So this is the example for the switch cases statement. Okay. So here we are getting this operator from the user. So we are getting the value here from the user, and we are getting 2 numbers in 2 variables, num1 and num2, right? So here we are writing this switch and then operator, whatever operator user is entering, let's suppose it is plus. So this will be matched with the first case level, and then 2 numbers will be added. And after that, break will be executed and compiler's control will come here outside the loop, and then we can get the result, right? If user is entering minus, so what will happen? This operator will be Match with the first case, no match found. Then operator will be matched with the second case, yes, match found. Then the result will be executed, and then after the break statement we get the output. If user is entering star sign, it means what? That operator will be matched here, no match found. Operator will be matched with the second case, no match found. Operator will be matched with the third case level, yes, match found. And then accordingly we'll get the result, and after the break statement compiler's control will come here and we'll get the result from this printf statement, right? Similarly, this next statement will work. If user enter this, then this case will be matched and we'll get the result by this printf statement. So this is all about the conditional branching statement. Thank you so much.